This video was produced by
So we're going to be discussing education-related issues in the wind energy field this afternoon. My name is Remy Pangle. I am the Associate Director of the Virginia Center for Wind Energy, and I am going to be the moderator for this session because I guess we had a last-minute change of plans. So I just want to remind you all to turn off your cell phones, and we do have a runner volunteer who will collect them and bring them to me by the end of the session. Also, be sure to visit the exhibitors on the second floor. They feel very, very sad because nobody goes up to the second floor. So you should make an effort to go up there and get one of those awesome free books that the Sierra Club is giving out when you join the PTC petition. It's very important that you do that. Also, check out the job board. If you are looking for a job or if you are looking for employees, we have a really nice board near the registration table where you can either put your business card in saying you're looking for employees, or you can put your resume in saying you're looking for a job, and we will kind of do the match.com thing and connect you all and make sure your resumes get to the people who are hiring. And also, well, I guess we had the TTF thing, but don't forget to come out to the networking cookout this evening. We are going to be hearing music from Annie and Mac's Old Time Music, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be inside, so don't worry about the heat. Come on out and eat some hot dogs and hamburgers with us. And it looks like Lynn has joined us. Sorry. Well, good. I'm going to hand it over then. Are you finished? I just was getting us started and getting the crowd all riled up for us. Did it work? Are you guys going to fall asleep because it's lunch and you're hot and it's, let's hope not. Okay. I have everything right here for you. You're good to go. So I'll turn it over to you if you want to make some opening comments.
I'm walking in the door later than I had hoped because my air conditioning went out and it's 90 degrees in my house. Our speakers this morning, or this afternoon that is, Remy Pangle, Director of Education and Outreach for the Virginia Wind Energy Center, Carte, Massanutten Technical Center. Dr. Carte is an instructor of engineering technology at Massanutten Technical Center and also a football coach at Turner Ashby High School. Holds degrees from Auburn University, University of Virginia, Mississippi State, and University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Having been in Mississippi for a very long time, I find that interesting. Jenny Christman graduated from Christopher Newport University in 1979 with a BA in elementary ed, and she taught language arts and science at Poquoson Middle School. She earned her MA in gifted education and is also a gifted resource teacher, future problem-solving coach, and webmaster for the school's website and a Virginia Wind Senator. She wrote a grant to enable Northumberland County Public Schools to have the first wind turbine installed on school property in February of 2011. The Wind for Schools project is something that I have promoted, and I would hope that those of you who have not had an opportunity to attempt such a thing would give it a shot. At this point, I'd like to ask the panel to come up.
Stay here because you can't see the presentations when they sit there. So
That sounds good to me.
Is that all right? I just don't want anyone breaking their necks, but thank you. Sorry. Sorry about that. You get a chance to take a breath. At least it's cool in here. I can click. Okay, thanks. So I was going to open up the session with a brief overview of wind energy education in Virginia. I call it curriculum present and future. I'm not sure that's really accurate, but I just wanted to kind of make sure that we were all in the same spot and understanding what's out there in terms of resources for teachers to teach wind energy education in the classroom, and then a little bit of information. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of information about the DOE's recent release of their energy literacy principles and how that's really kind of guiding some work at creating additional activities that might fill some gaps that were being seen, and then some needs for the future in terms of wind energy education, almost some marching orders, right? So we'll get started. I probably am preaching to the choir looking at our audience here, but the importance for wind energy education, we really need to make sure in this industry that we have a really well-informed citizen base so that people out there are making decisions based on fact. So making sure that our kids are learning about wind energy at an early age and getting an appreciation for where their electricity comes from and how it's generated is really important to set the basis for that. Of course, they also could be, and hopefully will be, the future of our wind industry as they grow up and go to college and maybe, you know, become service technicians or engineers or meteorologists. And then in terms of education, wind energy presents a really good opportunity to bring in some real good real-world scenarios while teaching STEM concepts. And the topics range for all grade ranges. You can really modify the curriculum for many grade ranges, and also the nature of the industry being so multidisciplinary really gives teachers a great way to start integrating other subjects, bringing in some science, math, English, cultural, social studies, things like that. So I think it gives that opportunity for cross-discipline learning. So I just wanted to go over a couple of available resources. There's so much out there right now, and I'll highlight a couple of things. The first thing is the NEED curriculum. So how many of you are familiar with the National Energy Education Development Project? Okay. And so these guys are based in Manassas, and they develop curriculum on energy education. So they range all the way from energy conservation to every form of energy you could ever think of. They've got coal, they've got hydro, they've got hydrogen, fuel cells, wind, solar, you name it. Ocean energy is their newest curriculum. So they really hit it all. But you can imagine with curriculum from K through 12 on so many different topics that it may not get super specific. So the WindWise curriculum is something that was created by KidWind Project. Who's familiar with KidWind? Because that's another big one, right? So they paired up with Pandion Systems, which is an environmental consulting firm, to create this WindWise curriculum, which is more for grades 6 through 12. And it's a little bit higher level, a little bit more inquiry-based, and it really kind of gets into the nuts and bolts. So if you're looking for something a little bit more in depth. Now, the Project Learning Tree program has the Energy and Society, which may not be specifically wind, but does bring in some great energy concepts about being aware of how you're using your energy and where it comes from. A little bit younger ages, lots of songs about energy, which are always fun. The 4-H community has come out with a small curriculum on wind energy as well. And the Lego guys have their renewable energy kits, and I'm sure this is just a breeze over, and there's much, much more out there. But these are kind of the staples that I go to when I'm looking for wind energy curriculum. And on top of that, there's also a lot of great books out there. You can find them on Amazon. I have a couple of them out at the Wind for Schools booth outside if you want to swing by and take a look. Energy Island is a great one. I know Jenny's used it to talk to the people at Tangier about wind energy. And I won't go into that. And then Catch the Wind is a great one. It takes you through the development of a wind farm, lots of great offshoots for good concepts there. And then Wind the World Over is one that was, it's got a lot of cultural connections, so they go to different countries and look at the history of wind energy. So it's really neat. So there's lots out there. And then the Virginia Center for Wind Energy, my goal in terms of education here at the center is to be a clearinghouse for these sorts of resources. So if you go to our website, I have links to all of these online free curricula. There's lots of activities you can download, things like that. And we are, and it's not the best website right now, but we're getting better. But we also offer classroom classroom visits, so I've got lots of kits, lots of resources, and I'm happy to visit a classroom at any time and do a class, and then hopefully inspire that teacher to continue to do that sort of thing in the years to come. We can give tours of our campus with our new wind turbine and our solar panels. We do offer teacher trainings like the one we're offering tomorrow on the Windwise Energy curriculum. We have a lending library of kits. So being a university, the people at Need and KidWin just love to send me stuff. And so I've got like one of everything that you've seen on their websites. So if you ever want to borrow one, you don't have to pay the $425 for the full kit. Just borrow it, bring it back with all the stuff in it. Nothing's broken, and it's a free loan. And I mean, nobody uses it, so please spread the news, because I've got them sitting in my closet, and my intern is stuck in that closet by himself. He needs some room, so please borrow a kit. So that's pretty much what we have, and it's a real brief overview, but we do offer a couple of programs, and the first program was mentioned was the Wind for Schools. So who's familiar with Wind for Schools? I don't want to preach too much to the choir. So the idea behind Wind for Schools, it's a nationally funded program through the Department of Energy. 11 different states are administering this. Virginia is one of them. And everyone sort of has their flavor of how they administer this. And we're probably the only college that administers the program not through a school of engineering, but through our integrated science and technology program. So our focus is less on the engineering side and more on the siting. Not to say that we're not interested in more engineering. That's maybe where Cam can come in and help us with some. But the idea is that we offer the ability for a school to host a turbine at their school, like Jenny did, and like Lorraine is looking to do. And the idea that we can help them through the development process of the small wind facility, and we can help them to find funding opportunities to help cover the cost of the turbine, which is roughly $20,000, which is hard to swallow in this economic turn. But the good thing is that there are grants out there that'll help you get there so that you don't need to ask your district to put it as a line budget, or a line item in the budget. So, but we do offer free ways to get into the program. We offer a partner program where you can borrow an anemometer through our anemometer loan program. And the kids from JMU come into your school, they put it up. Ron got one of these at Luray. The kids put it up, they analyze the data over a full year and write a report to the school saying, here's the kind of wind you got. Would you suggest that you get a turbine or not? That kind of thing. So it really is a nice assessment tool. Plus, the school gets real-time data to use in the classroom throughout that entire year. So data in the classroom is the big feature, and you'll see later that right now, there's really not a lot out there curriculum-wise to take that data and pull it into the classroom and really give you something to work with. So we're working on that. And again, we train the teachers on the wind energy curricula to make sure that the technology is being used in the classroom. The other thing that we've offered for the first time this year is the KidWind Challenge. So again, if you're familiar with KidWind and the Windwise curriculum, this is their baby. They've started these challenges. So the students form teams of 2 to 4. They get together, they build their own wind turbine, and then they bring it to the competition, just like you build your robots and you come to the competition, and you compete inside of the wind tunnel to generate the most electricity. And then that's only 40% of your score. The other 60% of your score is like a science fair judging, where they actually have to defend their design, they have to show that they understand the design and engineering process, and they also have to be able to show that they understand how a wind turbine works and a little bit about the wind industry. So it's really like a science fair judging. That's the other half of it. So we've seen teams that perform wonderful, but they don't document their process and they don't get first place just for building an awesome turbine. So it's really important that we have well-rounded students. And we did hold one in March, and we held another one last weekend, and we've had about 13 teams. They did a great job. We had $6,500 in sponsorships from Dominion and others in the wind industry, and we can't wait for next year. So we'll be talking to you soon if you want to come out and help us. This is just a picture to show you how creative these students are in terms of creating their own blades. So in the classroom, we don't build the whole turbine, we just build the blades. And these are some of the wonderful things that I've seen coming out of these quick sessions, where all they have are paper plates and tin pie plates and maybe some cardboard to build these blades, and they do fantastic things. So that doesn't give me much time, but I'll just mention the energy literacy principles that DOE came out with. They're working with the American Association for the Advancement of Science. And this just came out a couple of months ago. Who's seen this? Is this familiar to people? No? Well, I don't have a lot of time to cover it, so I'll just remind you to Google it later, because it's a really nice document, and it's really supposed to be kind of an underlying look at what are the things that we need to understand as a citizenship to be able to make good informed decisions about energy. And so it's really a framework for curriculum development. And so the 7 principles that they outline are here, and I won't go through them all. You'll have to maybe go and take a look a little bit closer someday. But this is really, as we go forward, or as I go forward in what I do here at the center, I really want to make sure that these 7 principles are being covered by the curriculum that we're offering. Along with the guiding principles for teaching and learning. So they also put this out here to make sure that we're learning in the best way possible. And again, probably preaching to the choir, but important that we are making sure that we're understanding that people are investigators and learners, and we want to focus ourselves on this core set of ideas and practices to make sure that we're not going off in tangents. Taking our time to understand and letting these principles develop, practicing these principles rather than just spitting them back out at you, things like that. So all those things come together to move into what we're doing now in terms of activity development. And this is just a little bit of a peek at what we did last semester. I taught a course here at JMU for pre-service teachers, and we actually had them look at all of the curricula that's available, do a big search online, in books, anything they could find, and then start identifying gaps. So we went through the entire semester going topic by topic so that they would understand the key concepts that you need to understand how wind energy works. We started with climate change. We moved into energy conservation. Then we talked about how does a wind turbine work and all the aerodynamics. And then we talked about siting. And so you see the flow. They're really talking about the real high-level science. But that let them go back and say, okay, well, we found these curricula, but are they really addressing what we just learned are the key concepts in wind? And so some things were covered really well, like climate change and like how does a wind turbine work? But some of the things were not covered real well, like the lift principle and aerodynamics. There's kind of glossed over in a lot of these things, as well as gearboxes. Why do you add a gearbox to a wind turbine? A lot of lessons just have, okay, this one's geared, this one's not. Look at the difference, but no information about gear ratios. So the students identified these and actually created new curricula, which was really exciting to see. But there's also a lot of stuff out there that's not being addressed, like transmission and grid operation. So, these electrons get created, but how do they get to your house? There's someone out there who has to regulate what's coming and being generated versus what the load is. And I think that's a real important part that's not being addressed. Then there's a lot of industry standard software that's not being used. GIS is used everywhere. We don't see a lot of GIS activities for wind energy, but I mean, that's all I do. So I have kind of a card in the game there. And then also wind assessment software. I mean, we don't sit here on Excel all day and make averages and means and things like that. We have programs that give us these great charts and graphs, and maybe the students should be learning about stuff like that. So these are the kinds of things I'd like to see happen in the future. And then I did call a couple of my colleagues around to see what they think are the needs for the future. And again, of course, continuing to create curricula to meet the needs of the energy literacy principles, to fill the gaps in the curricula that are not there in terms of key wind energy topics. But also to, well, for me to train more teachers, I need more people to help us do our teacher trainings, like Jenny. And we got to get Cam up to date on that one too, get him trained. No pressure. But the other thing that's really important is we do wind for schools, right? And we've trained all these students. We've got 11 states putting wind turbines in schools, but nowhere has anyone done any research on what kind of impact that really has on their learning. So are they really learning better in their STEM curriculum? Are the STEM concepts? And this is something that we really want to do, and we need money. Hint, hint, Lynn. And we need partners, people who are interested in working with us in the classroom as well as other places. So, and then of course, more engineering curriculum, more good stuff for the lower grades. So I think engineering is a very important concept. Most of the curriculum we see focuses on high school, but the little kids, they need to start learning that design process early too. So children's engineering is a good focus as we move forward as well. So that's pretty much my intro. I hope that was helpful and sets the stage for Jenny and Cam. So thank you very much.
I guess I'll have to use this. One of the other things that I am is I'm a high school coach, and I'm also an ordained minister, and I've never been accused of having to have a microphone, so usually I'm pretty loud. Here's an interesting thing. This presentation was put together by my seniors, and so they insisted on the PhD part. Dr. Carte's my dad, and so you really want something if you use it. But what I hope to do with you today is walk you through the process that we've used at MTC, share with you some of the successes, share with you some of the mistakes that we've made along the way and how we've corrected them. So could you do the clickering for me? All right, who do we teach? Today's high school students, because that's the student population I have. They're technologically advanced. I have no idea what an iPad or an iPod was when I went to high school in 1985. Couldn't tell you. Wouldn't be able to. Our kids have way more technology. Here's a little hint for you. We sent men to the moon with less computer power than what you have in your cell phone. And I drive that point home to our kids all the time. They're well-rounded with a diverse set of interests. We have kids that have computer programming background, gaming background. We have folks that are math whizzes, athletes. It runs the gamut, obviously, of their background. We test these poor kids to death. SOLs, PSATs, ACTs, SATs, TT, you name a moniker, we test them about it. And the other thing is, they're looking for the answer, why are we doing this or learning this? Now, I want to stay here for a moment because my entire program exists because one kid pitched a fit and threw his project across my classroom. What did he do? We were using little solar cars, and we were proving that solar cars worked, and he took the thing and he said, this is crap. He threw it across the room and he said, Cam, you aren't teaching me a thing that I can use in life. Not a thing. Can we do something else? And I said, well, what would you like to do? He said, why don't we get a real one? Why don't we get a real one and see if we can make the thing work? Well, a curriculum was born. So we did. Let's go to the next slide, please, ma'am. And so one of the things that I was tasked with is how do I teach young people, high school age kids, an engineering technology curriculum? And what kind of things are involved in that? Well, there's problem solving. I've told folks all along that I have degrees, advanced degrees in agricultural engineering and mechanics, environmental engineering, and all I do is I use baling twine and duct tape to fix every problem known to mankind. If it squeaks, use WD-40. If it doesn't, it's working just fine. That's ag engineering for you. Safety, workplace readiness. Trevor said, teach me something that I can use this in. It's meaningless to me if we play with this solar car all day long. Applied algebra and geometry, computer science and technology. We talk about basic economics, applied physics, applied chemistry, applied mechanics, electrical theory, and wood and metal fabrication. That is the crux of what we in continuing education in CTE are tasked with. So how do we teach it? Here's some words that my kids gave me. It needs to be current, Needs to be fun, needs to be hands-on. The statement, we hate homework. It's got to be interesting, practical, and give me a life skill. If I don't ever in my life touch a wind turbine, solar panel, or anything else, teach me something using this technology that I can use. Whether I am an assistant manager at McDonald's, give me something in this curriculum that I can still take and get that job. Next slide, please. So, without going into a whole heck of a lot of discussion here, here are some of the things that talk about in terms of learning styles when there's a mismatch between learning and how the class is designed. And so some of the things you see there, here's a big one for us at Massanutten Technical Center. Become a discipline problem. If your curriculum does not match what the kids need, you will quickly have a discipline problem. The one day, and I'm not afraid to tell you this, the one day that my lesson plans did not completely match what the kids wanted to do, I had a brawl in my classroom, literally. I had two guys and I had to drag one of them all the way to the principal's office. Why? Because what we were doing didn't match their learning style. It was nothing but written tests and he went nuts. You can't keep a kid there for 2.5 hours that doesn't want to take a test and make him sit there. You'll have a discipline problem. So we go on, please, ma'am. So we need to find some kind of balance. And one of the things that we have looked at is, the bottom one is important to me. Make them in the course material, make those kids great ambassadors for the program in the school. Everything that we have done and have achieved is because kids have asked for it or demanded it, including this presentation. As I told you, my seniors put this together for me as their final project this spring. Let's go forward. So, what we really needed, I've told you who we teach, I told you what we needed to teach. What we needed was a hook. We needed something that we could take that entire framework on and hang it. And so we took a look at wind and solar panel and we found some real winning possibilities there. We knew the students we were teaching. We knew what subjects and skills we had to teach. We've already talked about those. We had to find a how that met those aforementioned criteria, because the Department of Education here in Virginia makes us go through a list of competencies that must be completed for a certain course code. So under my course code, there's all those things that we talked about. And then wind and solar power has become our delivery tool. And we went from a class, we're in year 3.5. I went in about 1/3 of the way into the school year 3.5 years ago into a class that was robotics. That really wasn't robotics. It was kind of an amorphous manufacturing program. And I was asked to try to take that group of kids and turn it into something else. So the first thing I did was, as I said, forget what it says we're going to teach now. What do you want to learn? And so we started there, and some projects came to emerge, and the wind and solar panels that we talked about and the wind turbines came directly from kids saying, hey, we think that's cool, let's take a look at it. And so that's what we did. Next slide, please, ma'am. So a survey of the field of engineering. Our year 1 students come in, and here's the kind of things that we teach: aerospace engineering, mechanical engineering, structural engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, and environmental engineering. And this next slide will show you how we go about that. Aha! How do you match wind turbines to all this? Well, aerospace engineering, you talk about the blades. My kids in year 1 this year will build a 20-foot long airplane wing. And it'll have ailerons and it'll have flaps on it and it'll work. And they'll make it out of fiberglass and plywood. And what we will be learning all along is how to make an airfoil. Why does it work and how does it work? Now, if I just tell them we're going to do a wind turbine blade, that dog isn't going to hunt for a year 1 student. But you make an airplane blade and then take those concepts in year 2 and wrap them around it. Now you've got a kid interested. Mechanical engineering, we're going to talk about gearing and braking. My kids at the end of year 1 can do gear ratios for you. They can calculate them. They can talk about step up and step down gearing. They can talk about centrifugal brakes and hydraulic brakes and how those work and how they would slow a wind turbine down. Structural engineering, tower construction. My kids this year built towers out of 2x2s and then tried to destroy them with wind, rain, sleet, hail, karate chops, karate kicks, and everything else to try to tear up the designs they had made. Civil engineering, surveying and siting, there you go, Remy. My kids actually learn how to survey. They go out, and they take a transit, and they go out and they survey a piece of property. And then we talk about siting issues. Why can we or can't we put a wind turbine there? And my kids will talk to you. In my former life, I was considered on Capitol Hill one of the geniuses for the 404 permitting process for the Clean Water Act and the Endangered Species Act, and I did incidental take permits. So my whole life was wrapped around how can you put or cut down trees or put up a tower somewhere, and why could we or can't we do it? And I got good enough at it that I actually was a senior advisor to a vice president of the United States. And I only say that to you is that because this surveying and siting issue becomes huge. And there's where you can teach all of your social demands and your community justice and equity issues. You can have kids think way outside the box. It's not engineering. Why is it a good idea or not a good idea to put a wind farm somewhere? Why is it a good or bad idea to put the pump station in Bath County as a way to generate electricity? Did Dominion Power make a good choice or not? My kids talk about all those issues. The other thing we talk about is power generation and transmission. At the end of it, my kids will even discuss with you how Tesla was going to send electricity through the air into your light switches. Nutty idea, but he went a long way down the road with that idea. And then environmental engineering, again, siting and permitting, and we talk about it there. Okay? All right, here is airfoil from an airplane wing to a turbine blade. So those kids built remote control airplanes. They thought that was cool. Yes, they flew one of them, and yes, they wrecked about $500 worth of airplane engine and everything else. But the concept was I had them bought. They were bought into the process because they could then take that airplane wing, that airfoil, and then apply it to that wind turbine. And how does that thing spin and why does it spin? Next. So, that's fine. So what are my kids going to do that you can't do in a traditional physics or math class? My kids are going to use power tools. My kids erected scaffolding. And they got up on top of our school and they installed not only a wind turbine, but an array of solar panels. They'll learn basic carpentry. They wired a $5,000 inverter by themselves with no outside technical input. They mounted a functional wind turbine on the building. They calculated the effective angle to mount solar panels. They applied geometry to a physical site survey. They soldered pipe and they welded. And they used the computer lab to write grant proposals. Now listen to what I just said. My kids wrote one of the grant proposals that we got funding for. Are you going to get that in a traditional physics or math class? No. And that is how you can take these concepts of wind energy and get them out of the traditional box and get them into something that they can put their hands and paws around. Next slide, please. So how do we effectively accomplish this? There should be a bunch of bullets, there better be. All right, CTE at MTC. Well, what does that mean? All right, Career and Technical Education at Massanutten Technical Center. Now, some of you are teachers in high schools, and you may be a math or science teacher, but you can get some power tools. You can go down and raid the tech ed department, or you can cooperate with them, and you can do a lot of what we were talking about earlier. Yes. Oh, no raiding? You can't raid yours? All right. Well, I would raid. Today's CTE students, the Association for Career and Technical Education says we do all this stuff, and so I'm not going to bother you with it other than to say what we're doing is we're trying to take applied sciences and put them in a real-world setting for our kids. All right, so here's an actual application of a technology. That is a wind turbine that sits on the side of our school, and that is Rasheem Johnson one of my seniors this year, and Rashim wired that entire thing. It goes into a series of 4 batteries. Those batteries are run through an AC inverter, and we get electrical power that runs part of our classroom on a daily basis until the wind stops blowing. When the wind stops blowing, we go rut-row, can't use that anymore. But it's a great concept in that the kids can go right outside, look on the side of the building, hey coach, it ain't spinning. That's probably why we don't have any more electricity. We've used the battery up. Correct. And it's a direct application. Let's go to the next one. All right, so you would pay for an installation on your house or at your school. Our kids did the installation. Now, you tell a kid that they can have a power drill and they get to drill a hole through the side of the school, you'll have them lined up for a mile. How many of them can we put up? And there are no, well, there's none of my administrators here. We drilled 8 holes so that all 8 students could drill a hole through the school. We'll use them at a future time. I'm certain of that. Next slide. That's just them showing you that they can make them spin. There's the kids welding. Now they're welding the battery table that holds those batteries off the ground. One of the things that the kids learned is you put batteries on concrete, the concrete draws a lot of the charge out. They came up with an idea to circumnavigate that problem. Next. All right, so our year 2 curriculum. This is what we can offer our kids when they walk out of the door, and this is an awesome deal. 1 high school laboratory physics credit. Our class is set up with the Department of Education. If you take both years of my class, you walk out with a high school physics credit, just as if you sat in the classroom for a year and were bored to death with Ohm's Law by some teacher trying to kill you with it. We get weighted grading and credit. So our kids get 1.5 for every class that they take. The first semester of our second year, Dabney Lancaster, we've partnered with them, and they take topics in wind energy. Now here is my advertisement. You still have a chance. Earl, July, yes? You have an opportunity to sign up for a class down at Dabney Lancaster in beautiful downtown. Actually, there probably is no downtown, of Clifton Forge. You can go for a few days, and Remy and her group, along with Earl's folks down there, will go through Chuck Bartacci, great guy, and they will teach you some basics about topics in wind energy. You'll take that class. You as an instructor can get 3 college credits, that's 90 points for your research, plus on top of it, you get to steal all the curriculum that they're using. So if you don't, talk to Remy or talk to Earl, because I went and did it, it was worth its weight in gold. And so now we teach that class. The second semester, and we're proud that we had this done, our kids will take Introduction to Wind Turbine Mechanics with James Madison University, and they'll be dual enrolled here. I will teach that class on our campus and come over here and use these facilities, and our kids will walk away with an accreditation, college credits from a 4-year institution. That's huge. That's huge for our program. That's huge for our school. That's huge for our school system. When we got this agreement in place, we sent a letter out to every 10th and 11th grade student in Rockingham County. Within 4 days of sending that, we had 6 more kids sign up for this class, directly related to what they see they can get through a program that has some integration to it. Okay, next slide. All right, so far so good. Has it worked? Absolutely. Why has it worked? And this is my to you educators, this is my plea to you. Everybody wants it to work. I promise you they do. If you tell them that you want to put wind energy technology in your classroom and teach that way, folks want it to work. Remy wants it to work. Earl wants it to work. Cam wants it to work. Your administrators will want it to work if you can show them. The next thing is, we have excellent facilities in a lab. We are blessed at Massanutten Technical Center. I would like to say we are the top tech center in the entire state, and I think I have some data that we might could win that argument with you. So we have a heck of a lot of stuff. And the other part here is success ain't cheap. We've spent a fair amount of money. Our administrators have committed to this because of some of the alliances and agreements we've been able to make. And will it work for you? And here's why I say maybe. You've got to be willing to step out as an educator and take a few chances, because this is an emerging technology. Quick story, when I worked on Capitol Hill, I actually was one of the good guys, even though I worked for dreaded Weyerhaeuser Corporation and we were cutting down the entire world. But I helped one person in Tacoma, Washington, get a wind turbine sited because I knew how to go through the incidental take permit for the Endangered Species Act. All right, that's a whole lot of junk to tell you. I've been on both sides of this. I was the bad guy who turned out to be a good guy, and the good guy who turned out to be a bad guy. The same people that were lobbying for 20 years ago wind turbine technology are now some of them that fight against it because they don't like where you're going to put them. So it's kind of interesting. And so the reason I say maybe for you is you got to take a look at your stakeholders that are in your school, physical school, in your school system, and you need to find out who you can and can't partner with. We're blessed. We're right next to James Madison University. You can't get any better than what we've got. It's a little trek down to Dabney, Lancaster, but we had beautiful relationships with them prior to my program coming on board, so it was very easy to pick up the phone and say, hey, can we try this? And they were willing to work with us. The other thing is that my son is going to have to ride next week on a school bus with his dad. Now, why is he going to do that? The only way I can get my students here next year to JMU is if I can provide bus transportation. So guess who had to go get the school bus license? Guess who is going to use the only 2 weeks this summer that I'm not teaching or coaching to drive summer school kids around? And that's why I say it's got to be part of a commitment. The only way we were going to be able to cooperate with JMU is to get my kids over here some. How do I get them over here? Cam's going to have to drive the bus. So again, what are you willing to put in as an educator to make these partnerships work? Start small, think big. So there's the Kid Win project. People made wonderful little projects just like the kids learned to make. Second year, we actually put up a wind turbine, and by year 5, I promise you we will have, I promise you, take it to the bank, we'll have a wind turbine large enough to eclipse our flag at the school. If we have to come over here and give Remy 20 grand and just buy the thing, that's what we'll do. Because we've made a commitment that we're going to head in that direction. Start small, but think big. Don't choke yourself off. You can get the wind turbine through the program Remy has. And don't be afraid to dream like that. Next slide. All right. Last thing I can tell you is surround yourself with good people. People want this thing to succeed. At Massanutten Technical Center, we're in the middle of 2 school systems that we serve. And both Harrisonburg City Schools and Rockingham County Public Schools have bought into this program, have provided support. And so don't be afraid to go to your school boards and make a presentation. Don't be afraid to call Remy up and say, hey, look, I want you to come talk to our school board. And talk to them about it. Do some homework, but also admit where you're short-sighted and where you need their help. And I promise you, you'll find folks on those school boards that will help you. The other thing is, as I said, JMU and Dabney Lancaster, for our money, are the greatest of folks to cooperate with. We've had full cooperation from both schools and look forward to continuing to make those partnerships work. And then the Department of Education. We actually took and looked at all the course codes that we have in Virginia, and we found one, engineering technology, and it's broad, but one of the things we found out we could do is offer that physics credit. And that's huge to a kid who wants to be a college-bound student. Now, there are some prereqs. They have to have already taken Algebra 1. They also have to have taken at least 1 laboratory science prior to signing up, but you have the opportunity to offer that physics credit. Your teacher has to be certified in either physics, endorsed in physics, high school science, or as a tech ed teacher. Those are the kind of the requirements there. And so the last thing I can tell you is just surround yourself with good people. Have some kind of vision of what you want to do. Folks are willing to help you. If you call me, I'll tell you all the mistakes that we've made and where we've stubbed our toes, and I'll give you some names of folks to call who I think could help you along, whether you're a high school teacher or whether you're a second grade teacher and you want some cooperation. One of the things we're going to have this year is every second grader in Rockingham County is going to come over to our classroom and get a little thumbnail education on wind energy, and we're going to let them play with the airplane wing that we're going to build, and we're going to let them take a look at the wind turbine and see how it works, and we're going to cut off the power to the classroom and show them that the only way we're getting electricity is that the sun is shining, the wind is blowing. And that's a good message to send young people. So that's what I have for you, and I'll hang around and you can ask me whatever you want to ask me, or I'll tell you some lies or whatever you want to know. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jenny Christman. I'm the Instructional Technology Resource Teacher for Northumberland County. And I'll tell you about that in just a second. My background a little bit, I taught life science for 27 years, and then the Department of Ed came up with this, this new position called the Instructional Technology Resource Teacher. And it was, I felt like I wanted a change, and so I went into this new position, and it fit pretty well with science, but my superintendent kind of always saw me as the science person, and we built a new school in Northumberland County, and my superintendent says to me, Jenny, I want a wind turbine on the new school property, but I don't want to pay for it. Find a way to make that happen. So he did that to me a lot for a lot of different things. But it turns out that the Department of Minerals, Mines, and Energy had this grant that they were offering, and so I applied for it, hoping that we could get a wind turbine on this school property. And luckily, I was one of 11 schools or government facilities in the state of Virginia that was awarded this particular grant. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Okay, go ahead. And as I said, I'm from Northumberland County, all one word. Next. And this is our wind turbine. I think Remy had a little shot of it before. It's a 3.7 Skystream. It's 55 feet high, has a 12-foot diameter blade span. Okay, next. So the question is, where in the world is Northumberland County? Nobody ever knows where we are. Oh, we have some people that know where we are. Amazing, okay. It's right there where the red is. We are on what they call the northern neck of Virginia, in that peninsula that has the Potomac River above it and the Rappahannock River below it, and that's the northern neck, and that's where we are. Strategically, good place, you know, for a wind turbine. Our school isn't actually on the water, though. It's on one of the highest points in Northumberland County, but that's not saying much because we're at sea level. But anyway, we had fair conditions. Okay. We were lucky. A gentleman by the name of Gordon Burgess, who lives right at the tip, the very tip of Fleeton Point, kind of paved the way for us. He, 2 years before I wrote this grant, he had built a house, he put solar panels, he put geothermal in it, and he wanted a wind turbine on his property. Well, his neighbors that were 4 acres away were concerned that there was going to be noise pollution. And so Mr. Burgess had to go to Northumberland County for the Board of Supervisors, and he had to actually erect the wind turbine on the courthouse property for 30 days so that people would who were coming and going would see if there happened to be any, picking up the birds every day and that kind of stuff. But they discovered there was no problem with the wind turbine. So he erected that. And so he paved the way for us and made it really, really easy. We didn't have to go through any of that red tape that I believe some other counties are having to go through. So we were very lucky. All right, go ahead. And I told you it was on the northern neck. Go ahead. And this was talking about the wind. Our school is kind of where that arrow is right there. It's not the best place in the world, but hey, it's, like I said, it's on high ground. The wind blows a lot, a whole lot. All right, go ahead. And this should have been the video. Is it going back?
A little bit about the Win for Schools program, because the program is really exciting. It's not just...
Okay, there was a video here, and I was just going to tell you about that. We were fortunate enough to get Baker Renewable Energy. This is a company out of Richmond. I think they're also out of North Carolina as well. And they were the ones that we contracted with to do the wind turbine at our school facility. So we set a date of December the 17th, 2010, for them to come and lay the foundation. Of course, it snowed that day. School was out. It was a snow day. There was snow on the roads. Luckily, I have a Jeep, four-wheel drive, and they canceled school, but I called Richard, and he said, yeah, we're on our way. We're coming. So, snow and all, I went to school that day and stayed till 5:30 in the afternoon. It was just freezing. It was so cold. But that video that hopefully we'll be able to show you part of in a little bit, shows what they did. They, in order to put this 50-foot high wind turbine up, they dug a hole that was 5 feet deep and 11 feet in diameter, and they put the frame down and the foundation down in the bottom of it, and then they had to pour the concrete in. And part of the grant was the idea is to create as many jobs as possible for the local economy, and so Baker Renewable hired out, the Kubota people, with the thing that dug, what do you call that thing, the backhoe, right, that digs the hole, and, Lowry Concrete came in and poured the concrete. So a lot of local people were involved in putting this up, and everybody was really excited about it. But that concrete has to sit for over 30 days before you can actually erect the wind turbine. So we scheduled, and we were trying to do like a big grand, opening day and all that stuff, and get some guest speakers to come in. So we set that for February the 11th. And Remy was wonderful. She coordinated all of that, and it was a really special day for our whole county. And you can go ahead to the next one.
You guys getting a wind turbine, but your wind turbine here at this school is going to benefit students all over the country.
All right, I apologize for the little shaky thing there. Remy brought some JMU students to the site, and they were very helpful with the students because we had activities going on while kids were going through and learning about wind energy, and they also got a really close look at what these guys were actually doing. Well, it is. It's collapsible. It's kind of like your antenna in your car, and they pull it out one section at a time. And while this is going on, I want to say we were awarded the $20,000 grant, which meant our monetary outlay was not very much. In fact, what Northumberland County had to buy, we bought the computer that has to be hooked to the telemetry so that you get the data, and a few other incidental things. and the grant pretty well paid for everything. So we were fortunate. We were one of the first ones. Ken German said, use the money fast. And so I took him at his word. He said that in November. I had December 17th as the day we did this. Okay, go ahead to the next one. All right, we have a computer. It happens to be in my office. There's, it's actually out of line of sight of the wind turbine, but it's just like right around the corner, and it receives the telemetry from the wind turbine all the time. And that's what it looks like actually on the computer itself. And when it's spinning, the little blade on the thing is spinning, and it gives you some interesting information. But you can't look at the actual data while that's up. You have to close this out and go to the Idaho site, which I'll tell you a little about in a second. Okay, so I was fortunate enough. Remy, once again, came through. Kid Wind offered a wind senator training, and I highly recommend this for any of you if you are interested in pursuing this. I went out to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and the dude on the left, that's Mike Arkin. He's the CEO of Kid Wind. Really neat guy, very enthusiastic, loves what he's doing, innovative, and he's the one that got this Kid Wind program off the ground. And so we went there, and for a week, people from all over the country and out of the country. We had a lady from Chile there. Learned about wind energy and the Kid Wind curriculum and how to implement it. And once you do that, then you're a Virginia Wind Senator. I think there are two of us. We would like more, very much like more. And Remy's actually interested in trying to get some grants for scholarships for people to go to the training. I think this year it's in Maine, but it's well worth it. I just wanted to tell you about that. All right. Oh, great. Okay, you go ahead. That's a little blurry. And these are some of the people that came to this particular workshop. Great group of people. Professional collaboration. I can't even tell you how amazing these people were. All right, go ahead. And we got to tour several facilities that did not allow us to take any photographs. They were building blades and testing blades. And one of them was the National Testing Facility, and they were doing all kinds of things. They're looking at putting a wind turbine in Antarctica. I mean, it was fascinating, and it was worth going to these particular field trips. Okay, next. All right, since then, I've done a few wind energy workshops. Go ahead. We had a program this year called the Senior Capstone Class, and it's basically kids who have taken all the math that they need in order to graduate from high school by the time they finish their junior year. So that means when they're a senior in high school, they're not taking any math at all, which when they go to college, they do have to take, some math, and that's not a good thing, if any of you have ever experienced anything like that, like I did. So what they decided to do in Northumberland is start this program called the Capstone Class, and basically it's, can't even touch what CAM does, but it's taking STEM concepts and applying them to real-life applications. And we built a solar panel this year, and I did wind energy, kid wind activities on a higher level with these high school kids, and it was really, really great. I'm also the talented and gifted coordinator in Northumberland, so I worked with my elementary talented and gifted kids and my middle school and my high school talented and gifted kids, and did a lot of wind energy things with them. I had the talented and gifted coordinator from Matthews County brought two groups over on two separate days, and we went out and looked at the wind turbine and looked at the telemetry, did some activities, and spent the whole day doing that, and that was great. I went with Remy to Virginia Beach, and we did a teacher's workshop. I think it was in the fall, wasn't it?
The one at the aquarium?
Yeah, at the aquarium. Yeah, something like that. So the most recent one that I did was with Peaslee Middle School, and that was done on Fox Island. So hit the next slide. Okay, so back to the map. Where is Fox Island? All right, you see where Northumberland is. Directly across from Northumberland is Tangier Island. We spoke of Tangier. Tangier also got a grant through that same organization that I got the grant through. They were going to get a very large wind turbine, that one that would actually provide electricity for them and for Smith Island. But people on Tangier, love their hearts, they don't like change too much, you know. And I think they're going with the solar as opposed to the wind at this moment. That is what they are. But they're still debating it. Yes. Oh, it's already installed? Okay, good. But if you go past Tangier, closer to Maryland, to the eastern shore over there, actually it's near Crisfield, there was a little island called Fox Island. And the Chesapeake Bay Foundation has had it. It was a hunting lodge back in the early 1900s. And it's one of their field stations. Northumberland has a really, really good relationship with Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and we periodically throughout the year take our 6th graders, 7th graders up to high school to one of their field stations, either at Port Isabel or Smith Island or Fox Island or the Karen Noonan Center for 3 days. Visualize this now. 3 days and 2 nights with these kids for a total immersion in the Chesapeake Bay. Well, the cool thing about Fox Island is there is no electricity at Fox Island. The only electricity is provided by the solar panels that are there. If you want water, you have to pedal a bike, and it pumps the well water up. But they were really, really excited about the idea of the wind energy. And so it just turned out my best friend was the science teacher at Peaslee Middle School, and she asked me if I would go and do a workshop with them when they were there. So hit the next one. And this is Sherry's kids from Peaslee at Fox Island. I'll give you an idea of what Fox Island looks like. By the way, we are hoping that we can have a good relationship with CBF and Kid Win. That would be great. Basically, all it is a box on stilts in the middle of the bay because the rest of the island has eroded away. You know, there's a little bit of marsh left, but that's about it. Part of the objective of taking kids out to the field station is for them to learn to become responsible stewards of the bay. And, you know, they have a lights off challenge and that kind of stuff because energy is conserved. It isn't readily available out there. And learning about wind energy just fit in perfectly. In fact, next Tuesday I'm doing a workshop with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation people and some teachers from Virginia Beach so that they can learn a little bit more about wind energy and how to integrate it at their field stations. Now, a simple thing like plugging in a fan at Fox Island was not a simple thing. You have to go turn the inverter on and make sure you have power because there is no power. There are no lights. There were some very unique, like that one. It was a weird design, and I was so afraid. The child had Asperger's, and I was afraid that it wouldn't work at all. It turned out it was the second highest scoring one, so it's pretty cool. Okay, next. All right, and I told you about the one upcoming one. Also, I'm the instructional technology resource teacher for Northumberland County, but we have regional meetings of our ITRTs, and so that's one of the things that they said that they wanted to do is to learn how to use, you know, the wind energy with the veneer probeware and that kind of stuff in one of our meetings. So that's going to be coming up, and I do teacher workshops locally in Northumberland County, but also we do a lot of things regionally. So if we're so small and rural, if we put it out there, we say Richmond County, Lancaster County, Colonial Beach, you know, Westmoreland, hey, we're doing this if you want to send your science teachers, you know, on such and such a day. So that's also a possibility. And, you know, if you're, I know we're way out on the northern neck, but, you know, if you want to bring a group out, you know, we could spend a day and do a workshop right there. I have a whole big classroom that we can use. Okay, and just click on that link. Let's hope it works. I know, I'm done. Okay, and then if you just click on the picture of the wind turbine right there, the last thing I wanted to show you, we're part of the Wind for Schools program, and what that does is that links us to the Idaho lab, and it's loading now. It takes a few seconds and it updates all the time, but you can get all kinds of information. We're Northumberland. We're one of many schools throughout the United States that has a wind turbine on the school property. And you can compare, you know, what the ones in Kansas are doing to the ones that are in Texas to the ones that are in Northumberland. It's pretty interesting, and it gives you a lot of raw data. You know, they say March is the windy month, but is it really? Is it the windiest month in our county? You know, you can do all kinds of research with it. And so you can get some raw data from this particular site, and that's readily available as well. Okay, thank y'all. Oh, yes.
Do we have any questions for the panelists? Yeah, they must have covered it very well. I think it was very good. By the way, we at the CTE Center have just finished this year a renewable energy course that has a course code, and it's a high school course, grades 9 through 12. I do have a question here. It says, Cam, how is your system of students installing a wind turbine at the school sustainable? You can't have 10 different turbines at one school by 2022, can you?
Can we have 10 by 20?
The question was, is it sustainable, basically?
Is the class sustainable? We have already been asked to install wind turbines. Our class has already been able to, has been asked to install 2 wind turbines at 2 other schools. So we'll actually take our tools, a little bit of know-how, and scaffolding and anything else we need to do, and we'll mount them on 2 different schools. We're going to go to Manassas Park High School up in Northern Virginia, and we're going to go to Musselman High School out in West Virginia. So our kids are going to have an opportunity to travel a little bit and do the same thing that we've done. Is it sustainable in terms of the kids being able to install one every year? Probably not, but you're missing the point if all you're doing is installing the wind turbine, and I think that's kind of the key here. At Northumberland, they've installed it, but I don't think that 3 years from now they would consider it not a success if they can continue to get that data. So the hands-on component is extremely important to our kids, but certainly we're looking for opportunities to do that. And if you've got $4 grand and you can buy the small wind turbine, my kids will come put it up for you too. So
Thank you. Question for Jenny. What titles do I search on YouTube to see your videos?
Okay, I'm going to put it on.
You usually post on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I do post it on the Wind Energy Collaborative Facebook page. It's a Prezi, and it's on my Prezi, but I can post it on my Facebook page too. And don't we have a Virginia Win for Schools Facebook page? I can post it on that as well.
Any other questions? Well, yes, we are out of time. Thank you to Cam and Remy and to Jenny, and thank you very much. We appreciate your expertise.